All right, Joshua chapter 8, verse 24. When Israel had finished killing all the men of Ai in the fields and in the wilderness where they had chased them, and when every one of them had been put to the sword, all the Israelites returned to Ai and killed those who were in it. 12,000 men and women fell that day, all the people of Ai, for Joshua did not draw back at the hand that held out his javelin until he had destroyed all who lived in Ai. But Israel did carry off for themselves the livestock and plunder of the city, as the Lord had instructed Joshua. So Joshua burned Ai and made it a permanent heap of ruins, a desolate place to this day. He impaled the body of the king of Ai on a pole and left it there until evening. At sunset, Joshua ordered them to take the body from the pole and throw it down at the entrance of the city gate, and they raised a large pile of rocks over it, which remains to this day. The covenant renewed at Mount Ebal. Then Joshua built on Mount Ebal an altar to the Lord, the God of Israel, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded the Israelites. He built it according to what is written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of uncut stones, on which no iron tool had been used. On it they offered to the Lord burnt offerings and sacrificed fellowship offerings. There, in the presence of the Israelites, Joshua wrote on stones a copy of the law of Moses. All the Israelites with their elders, officials, and judges were standing on both sides of the ark of the covenant of the Lord, facing the Levitical priests who carried it. Both the foreigners living among them and the native born were there. Half of the people stood in front of Mount Gerizim, and half of them in front of Mount Ebal, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had formerly commanded when he gave instructions to bless the people of Israel. Afterward, Joshua read all the words of the law, the blessings and the curses, just as it is written in the book of the law. There was not a word of all that Moses had commanded that Joshua did not read to the whole assembly of Israel, including the women and children and the foreigners who lived among them. Joshua chapter 9. The Gibeonite deception. Now when all the kings west of the Jordan heard about these things, the kings in the hill country, in the western foothills, and along the entire coast of the Mediterranean Sea as far as Lebanon, the kings of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivitites, and Jebusites, they came together to wage war against Joshua and Israel. However, when the people of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai, they resorted to a ruse. Then went as a delegation whose donkeys were loaded with worn-out sacks and old wineskins, cracked and mended. They put worn and patched sandals on their feet and wore old clothes. All the bread of their food supply was dry and moldy. Then they went to Joshua in the camp of Gilgal and said to him and the Israelites, "We have come from a distant country. Make a treaty with us." The Israelites said to the Hivites, or Hivites. Just the way it's spelled, I'm sorry. "But perhaps you live near us. So how can we make a treaty with you?" "We are your servants," they said to Joshua. But Joshua asked, "Who are you and where do you come from?" They answered, "Your servants have come from a very distant country because of the fame of the Lord your God. For we have heard reports about him, all that he did in Egypt, and all that he did to the two kings of the Amorites east of the Jordan, Sihon, king of Heshbon, and Og, king of Bashan, who reigned in Ashtaroth. And our elders and all those living in our country said to us, take provisions for your journey, and go meet them, and say to them, we are your servants, make a treaty with us. This bread of yours was warm when we packed it at home on the day we left to come to you. But now see how dry and moldy it is. And these wineskins that we filled were new, but see how cracked they are. And our clothes and sandals are worn out by the very long journey. The Israelites sampled their provisions, but did not inquire of the Lord. Then Joshua made a treaty of peace with them to let them live. And the elders of the assembly ratified it by oath 3 days after they made the treaty with the Gibeonites. The Israelites heard that they were neighbors living near them. So the Israelites set out on the third day, came to their cities, Gibeon, Kephirah, Beeroth, and Kiriath Jearim. But the Israelites did not attack them, because the leaders of the assembly had sworn on an oath to them by the Lord, the God of Israel. The whole assembly grumbled against the leaders, but all the leaders answered, we have given them our oath by the Lord, the God of Israel, and we cannot touch them now. This is what we will do to them. We will let them live, so that God's wrath will not fall on us for breaking the oath we swore to them. They continued, let them live, but let them be woodcutters and water carriers in the service of the whole assembly. So the leaders' promise to them was kept. Then Joshua summoned the Gibeonites and said, why did you deceive us by saying we live a long way from you, while you actually live near us? You are now under a curse. You will never be released from service as woodcutters and water carriers for the house of my God. They answered Joshua, your servants were clearly told how the Lord your God had commanded his servant Moses to give you the whole land and wipe out all its inhabitants from before you. So we feared for our lives because of you, and that is why we did this. We are now in your hands. Do to us whatever seems good and right to you. So Joshua saved them from the Israelites, and they did not kill them. That day they made the Gibeonites woodcutters and water carriers for the assembly, to provide for the needs of the altar of the Lord at the place of the Lord would choose. And that is what they are to this day. Observation: God does not give us commands or lead us to decisions and leave us to fight the obstacles in our own strength. He strengthens us and guides us in every detail. Inspiration: you get impatient with your own life, trying to master a habit or control a sin, and in your frustration begin to wonder where the power of God is. Be patient. God is using today's difficulties to strengthen you for tomorrow. He is equipping you. The God who will make things grow will help you bear fruit. God did not leave you as an orphan. He says he will be with you always. All of us could use some more strength. Who isn't trying to tackle an attitude or put away a bad habit or overcome guilt? We can't see the power, but it's real. We're not alone. As long as we have hope, as long as we recognize that this world is not our home, as long as we recognize that someday all of our problems will be solved, that is where we will gather our strength. Application: if you're struggling right now with an attitude or a bad habit, stop and focus on the promise of God's strength and his presence. As God did with the Israelites, he will go with you into battle and equip you for whatever you may face this day. Remember that God is in charge and controls everything. Amen. I think that's a good reminder for all of us, especially those that are fighting for holiness, as fighting for just to truly live in the spirit and not by the flesh. And that's why I like to remember what Paul says about how he does the things that he doesn't want to do, but and struggles to do the things he wants to do. It's a struggle for all of us, but it's really a struggle for those that have been given the revelation of Jesus Christ, that see his goodness, that will testify that he's delivered them from so much. And yet, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And I will just say this: when you get up in the morning, make sure God is acknowledged first and foremost. Give him your first words. Give him your first few breaths and just talk to God. Put on the full armor of God before you even step out that door. You really should just put it on before you plant your feet on the ground, because what can happen is you're getting attacked within your own home. Family members, all of that can be a struggle. And firsthand, I can tell you, I've been through that. So just know you're not alone in this, and that there are other believers that are also struggling. But if it's a struggle, that's good. Because if it's not, and you feel no conviction for your sins, woe to you. I want to stay convicted. I want to stay in a space where I have a conscience, where I understand that, okay, this is wrong. I need Jesus every single day, every single moment of my life. I need him. If we get to a place where we don't need him, or we can't learn something, that is a scary place. That is a place you don't want to put yourself in. Be fully dependent on God. When we are not dependent on him, we tend to become our own God without realizing that's what we're doing. So I don't care about nothing about what I got going on over here. It's all about Jesus. He gets the glory. He gets the honor. He gets the praise. I don't even care about compliments anymore. I used to be like looking for a compliment. Now I don't care. I don't. Those compliments don't do much at all. At all. I want to hear from my Lord and Savior that I'm doing good, that I'm on the path. To keep it up, to keep going. That's what I want to hear from him. The rest of y'all, love you, but you can kick rocks compared to my Lord and Savior. I just want his approval. I don't want his approval above others. I just want his approval. His and his alone. Because we're always going to come up against someone who doesn't like what we're doing, who thinks that you're doing too much, who thinks that you're too zealous, who thinks that, sometimes you just got to relax. Like, okay, you want to live a relaxed life, you do that. But over here, it's all about Jesus. We going to keep it pushing with the word. Joshua chapter 10. The sun stands still. Now Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, heard that Joshua had taken Ai and totally destroyed it, doing to Ai and its king as he had done to Jericho and its king, and that the people of Gibeon had made a treaty of peace with Israel and had become their allies. He and his people were very much alarmed at this because Gibeon was an important city. Like one of the royal cities, it was larger than Ai, and all its men were good fighters. So Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, appealed to Hoham, king of Hebron, Piram, king of Jarmuth, Japhia, king of Lachish, and Debir, king of Eglon. Come up and help me attack Gibeon, he said, because it has made peace with Joshua and the Israelites. Then the 5 kings of the Amorites, the kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon, joined forces. They moved up with all their troops and took up positions against Gibeon and attacked it. The Gibeonites then sent word to Joshua in the camp of Gilgal, "Do not abandon your servants. Come up to us quickly and save us. Help us, because all the Amorite kings from the hill country have joined forces against us." So Joshua marched up from Gilgal with his entire army, including all the best fighting men. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them. I have given them into your hand. Not one of them will be able to withstand you." After an all-night march from Gilgal, Joshua took them by surprise. The Lord threw them into confusion before Israel, so Joshua and the Israelites defeated them completely at Gibeon. Israel pursued them along the road going up to Beth Horon and cut them down all the way to Azekah and Makkedah. As they fled before Israel on the road down from Beth Horon and Azekah, the Lord hurled large hailstones down on them, and more of them died from the hail than were killed by the swords of the Israelites. On the day the Lord gave the Amorites over to Israel, Joshua said to the Lord in the presence of Israel, "Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and you, moon, over the valley of Aijalon." So the sun stood still, and the moon stopped, till the nation avenged itself on its enemies. As it is written in the book of Jashar, the sun stopped in the middle of the sky and delayed going down about a full day. There has never been a day like it before or since, the day when the Lord listened to a human being. Surely the Lord was fighting for Israel. Then Joshua returned with all Israel to the camp at Gilgal. 5 Amorite kings killed. Now the 5 kings had fled and hidden in the cave at Makkedah. When Joshua was told that the 5 kings had been found hiding in the cave of Makkedah, he said, "Roll large rocks up to the mouth of the cave and post some men there to guard it, but don't stop. Pursue your enemies. Attack them from the rear and don't let them reach their cities, for the Lord your God has given them into your hand." So Joshua and the Israelites defeated them completely, but a few survivors managed to reach their fortified cities. The whole army then returned safely to Joshua in the camp at Makkedah, and no one uttered a word against the Israelites. Joshua said, "Open the mouth of the cave and bring those 5 kings out to me." So they brought the 5 kings out of the cave, the kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon. When they had brought these kings to Joshua, he summoned all the men of Israel and said to the army commanders who had come with him, "Come here and put your feet on the necks of these kings." So they came forward and placed their feet on their necks. Joshua said to them, "Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, be strong and courageous. This is what the Lord will do to all the enemies you are going to fight." Then Joshua put the kings to death and exposed their bodies on 5 poles, and they were left hanging on the poles until evening. At sunset, Joshua gave the order and took them down from the poles and threw them into the cave where they had been hiding. At the mouth of the cave, they placed large rocks where they are to this day. Southern cities conquered. That day, Joshua took Makkedah. He put the city and its king to the sword and totally destroyed everyone in it. He left no survivors, and he did to the king of Makkedah as he had done to the king of Jericho. Then Joshua and all Israel with him moved on from Makkedah to Libnah and attacked it. The Lord also gave that city and its king into Israel's hand, the city and everyone in it. Joshua put to the sword. He left no survivors there, and he did it to its king as he had done to the king of Jericho. Then Joshua and all Israel with him moved on from Libnah to Lachish. He took up positions against it and attacked it. The Lord gave Lachish into Israel's hands, and Joshua took it on the second day. The city and everyone in it he put to the sword, just as he had done to Libnah. Meanwhile, Horam, king of Gezer, had come up to help Lachish, but Joshua defeated him and his army until no survivors were left. Then Joshua and all Israel with him moved on from Lachish to Eglon. They took up positions against it and attacked it. They captured it that same day and put it to the sword and totally destroyed everyone in it, just as they had done with Lachish. Then Joshua and all Israel with him went up from Eglon to Hebron and attacked it. They took the city and put it to the sword, together with its king, its villages, and everyone in it. They left no survivors, just as Eglon. They totally destroyed it and everyone in it. Then Joshua and all Israel with him turned around and attacked Debir. They took the city, its king, and its villages and put them to the sword. Everyone in it they totally destroyed. They left no survivors. They did to Debir and its king as they had done to Libnah and its king and to Hebron. So Joshua subdued the whole region, including the hill country, the Negev, the western foothills, and the mountain slopes, together with all their kings. He left no survivors. He totally destroyed all who breathed, just as the Lord, the God of Israel, had commanded. Joshua subdued them from Kadesh Barnea to Gaza, and from the whole region of Goshen to Gibeon. All these kings and their lands Joshua conquered in one campaign, because the Lord, the God of Israel, fought for Israel. Then Joshua returned with all Israel to the camp at Gilgal. Joshua chapter 11. Northern kings defeated. When Jabin, king of Hazor, heard of this, he sent word to Jobab, king of Madon, to the kings of Shimron and Akshaph, and to the northern kings who were in the mountains in the Arabah, south of Kinnereth, in the western foothills, and in Naphoth Dor on the west, to the Canaanites in the east and west, to the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, and Jebusites in the hill country, and to the Hivites below Hermon, in the region of Mizpah. They came out with all their troops and a large number of horses and chariots, a huge army as numerous as the sand on the seashore. All these kings joined forces and made camp together at the waters of Merom to fight against Israel. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them, because by this time tomorrow I will hand all of them slain over to Israel. You are to hamstring their horses and burn their chariots." So Joshua and his whole army came against them suddenly at the waters of Merom and attacked them, and the Lord gave them into the hand of Israel. They defeated them and pursued them all the way to Greater Sidon, to Misrephoth Maim, and to the valley of Mizpah on the east, until no survivors were left. Joshua did to them as the Lord had directed. He hamstrung their horses and burnt their chariots. At that time Joshua turned back and captured Hazor and put its king to the sword. Hazor had been the head of all these kingdoms. Everyone in it they put to the sword. They totally destroyed them, not sparing anyone that breathed, and burned Hazor itself. Joshua took all these royal cities and their kings and put them to the sword. He totally destroyed them, as Moses the servant of the Lord had commanded. Yet Israel did not burn any of the cities built on their mounds, except Hazor, which Joshua burned. The Israelites carried off for themselves all the plunder and livestock of these cities, but all the people they put to the sword until they completely destroyed them, not sparing anyone that breathed. As the Lord commanded his servant Moses, so Moses commanded Joshua, and Joshua did it. He left nothing undone of all that the Lord commanded Moses. So Joshua took this entire land, the hill country, all the Negev, the whole region of Goshen, the western foothills, the Arabah, and the mountains of Israel with their foothills, from Mount Halak, which rises toward Seir, to Baal Gad, in the valley of Lebanon, below Mount Hermon. He captured all their kings and put them to death. Joshua waged war against all these kings for a long time, except for the Hivites living in Gibeon. Not one city made a treaty of peace with the Israelites, who took them all in battle. For it was the Lord himself who hardened their hearts to wage war against Israel, so that he might destroy them totally, exterminating them without mercy, as the Lord had commanded Moses. At that time Joshua went and destroyed the Anakites from the hill country, from Hebron, Debir, and Anab, from all the hill country of Judah, and from all the hill country of Israel. Joshua totally destroyed them and their towns. No Anakites were left in Israelite territory, only in Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod did any survive. So Joshua took the entire land, just as the Lord had directed Moses, and he gave it as an inheritance to Israel according to their tribal divisions. Then the land had rest from war. I'm just going to take a quick water break. All right, Joshua, what's going on? Joshua chapter 12. List of defeated kings. These are the kings of the land whom the Israelites had defeated and whose territory they took over the east of the Jordan, from the Arnon gorge of to Mount Hermon, including all the eastern side of the Arabah. Sihon, king of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon. He ruled from Aroer on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, from the middle of the gorge to the Jabbok River, which is the border of the Ammonites. This included half of Gilead. He also ruled over the eastern Arabah, from the Sea of Galilee to the Sea of Arabah, that is the Dead Sea, to Beth Jeshimoth, and then southward below the slopes of Pisgah, and the territory of Og, king of Bashan, one of the last of the Raphites who reigned in Ashtaroth and Edrei. He ruled over Mount Hermon, Selka, all of Bashan, to the border of the people of Geshur and Makkah, and half of Gilead to the border of Sihon, king of Heshbon. Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the Israelites conquered them, and Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave their land to the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh to be their possession. Here is a list of the kings of the land that Joshua and the Israelites conquered in the west side of the Jordan, from Baal-Gad in the valley of Lebanon to Mount Halak, which rises toward Seir. Joshua gave their lands as an inheritance to the tribes of Israel according to their tribal divisions. The lands included the hill country, the western foothills, the Arabah, the mountain slopes, the wilderness, and the Negev. These were the lands of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivitites, and Jebusites. These were the kings: the king of Jericho, the king of Ai near Bethel, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon, the king of Gezer, the king of Debir, the king of Geder, the king of Hormah, the king of Arad, the king of Libnah, the king of Adullam, the king of Makkedah, the king of Bethel, the king of Tappuah, the king of Hafir, the king of Aphek, the king of Lasharon, the king of Madon, the king of Hazor, the king of Shimron Meron, the king of Akshaph, the king of Tanakh, the king of Megiddo, the king of Kadesh, the king of Jokneam in Carmel, the king of Dor in Naphath Dor, the king of Goyim in Gilgal, the king of Tirzah. 31 kings in all. All right. Joshua chapter 13. Land still to be taken. When Joshua had grown old, the Lord said to him, "You are now very old, and there are still very large areas of land to be taken over. This is the land that remains, all the regions of the Philistines and Geshurites, from the Shihor River on the east of Egypt and to the territory of Ekron on the north, all of it counted as Canaanite, though held by 5 Philistine rulers in Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. The territory of the Avites on the south, all the land of the Canaanites from Era of the Sidonians as far as Aphek, and the border of the Amorites, the area of Byblos, and all Lebanon to the east from Baal-Gad below Mount Hermon to Lebo Hamath. As for all the inhabitants of the mountain regions from Lebanon to Misrephoth Maim, that is, all the Sidonians, I myself will drive them out before the Israelites. Be sure to allocate this land to Israel for an inheritance as I have instructed you, and divide it as an inheritance among the 9 tribes and half of the tribe of Manasseh. Division of the land east of the Jordan. The other half of Manasseh, the Reubenites and the Gadites, had received the inheritance that Moses had given them east of the Jordan, as he, the servant of the Lord, had assigned it to them. It extended from Aroer on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, and from the town in the middle of the gorge, and included the whole plateau of Medeba as far as Dibon, and all the towns of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled in Heshbon, out to the border of the Ammonites. It also included Gilead, the territory of the people of Geshur and Makkah, all of Mount Hermon, and all Bashan as far as Selka, that is, the whole kingdom of Og in Bashan, who had reigned in Ashtaroth and Edrei. He was the last of the Rephites. Moses had defeated them and taken over their land, but the Israelites did not drive out the people of Geshur and Makkah, so they continue to live among the Israelites to this day. But to the tribe of Levi he gave no inheritance, since the food offerings presented to the Lord, the God of Israel, are their inheritance as he promised them. This is what Moses had given to the tribe of Reuben according to its clans. The territory from Aroer on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, and from the town in the middle of the gorge, the whole plateau past Medeba to Heshbon and all its towns on the plateau, including Dibon, Bamoth Baal, Beth Baal, Meon, Jahaz, Kedemoth, Mephath, Kiriathaim, Sibma, Zareth Shahar, on the hill in the valley, Beth Peor, the slopes of Pisgah, and Beth Jeshimoth, all the towns from the plateau, and the entire realm of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled at Heshbon. Moses had defeated him and the Midianite chiefs Evi, Rekem, Zur, Hur, and Reba, princes allied with Sihon, who lived in that country. In addition to those slain in battle, the Israelites had put to the sword Balaam, son of Beor, who practiced divination. The boundary of the Reubenites was the bank of the Jordan. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the Reubenites according to their clans. This is what Moses had given to the tribe of Gad according to its clans. The territory of Jazer, all the towns of Gilead, and half the Ammonite country as far as Aroer near Rabbah, and from Heshbon to Ramath Mizpah and Betonim, from Mahanaim to the territory of Debir, and in the valley Beth Haram, Beth Nimrah, Succoth, and Zaphon, with the rest of the realm of Sihon, king of Heshbon, the east side of the Jordan, the territory up in the end of the Sea of Galilee. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the Gadites according to their clans. The territory of Jazer. This is what Moses had given to the half tribe of Manasseh, that is, to half the family of the descendants of Manasseh according to its clans. The territory extending from Mahanaim and including all of Bashan, the entire realm of Og, king of Bashan, all the settlements of Jair in Bashan, 60 towns, half of Gilead, and Ashtaroth and Edrei, the royal cities of Og in Bashan. This was for the descendants of Machir, son of Manasseh, for half of the sons of Machir according to their clans. This is the inheritance Moses had given when he was in the plains of Moab, across the Jordan, east of Jericho. But to the tribe of Levi, Moses had given no inheritance, the Lord, the God of Israel, as their inheritance, as he promised them. Okay, just a moment here. Oh, silly me. I was sitting here for a good hour and a half. Didn't realize I was not streaming my Twitch. I was like, there's nobody here. Which, I mean, hey, we gonna keep it going anyway, but that's so funny. I was like, this is unusual. All right. Joshua chapter 14. Division of the land west of the Jordan. Now these are the areas the Israelites received as an inheritance in the land of Canaan, which Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the leads of the tribal clans of Israel allotted to them. Their inheritances were assigned by lot to the 9.5 tribes, as the Lord had commanded through Moses. Moses had granted the 2.5 tribes their inheritance the east of the Jordan, but had not granted the Levites an inheritance among the rest, for Joseph's descendants had become 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. The Levites received no share of the land, but only towns to live in, with the pasture lands for their flocks and herds. So the Israelites divided the land just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Allotment for Caleb. Now the people of Judah approached Joshua at Gilgal, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, and said to him, "You know what the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, at Kadesh Barnea, about you and me. I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to explore the land. and I brought him back a report according to my convictions. But my fellow Israelites who went up with me made the hearts of the people melt in fear. I, however, followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. So on that day Moses swore to me, the land on which your feet have walked will be your inheritance, and that of your children forever, because you have followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. Now then, just as the Lord promised, he has kept me alive 45 years since the time he said this to Moses, while Israel moved about in the wilderness. So here I am today, 85 years old. I am still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. I'm just as vigorous to go out to battle now as I was then. Now give me this hill country that the Lord promised me that day. You yourself heard then that the Anakites were there, and their cities were large and fortified, but the Lord helping me, I will drive them out just as he said. Then Joshua blessed Caleb son of Jephunneh and gave him Hebron as his inheritance. So Hebron has belonged to Caleb son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite ever since, because he followed the Lord the God of Israel wholeheartedly. Hebron used to be called Kiriath Arba, after Arba, who was the greatest man among the Anakites. Then the land had rest from war. The situation. The Israelites successfully overtook much of Canaan, but more land remained to possess. Caleb was one of the 12 original spies to explore the promised land and return with a positive report. He was determined to obtain the land God had promised him, even though he was no longer a young man. Observation. Like Caleb, when we devote ourselves wholeheartedly to the Lord's cause, he will be faithful to give us what he promised. Inspiration. Caleb, the man with a different spirit, had a secret desire. Just give Hebron to me. I'll take care of it. Moses took the request to God. God gave the answer, and Caleb was given the land. And 45 years later, at the age of 85, the old soldier was ready to inhabit Hebron. Now give me this hill country that the Lord promised me that day. Last sighting of Caleb had him turning his face toward Hebron, where he did what he promised to do. He chased the enemy and reclaimed the city. Caleb wanted to do something great for God. He lived with a higher call. How high is yours? Maybe the reason your problems feel so great is because your cause is too small. Perhaps you need to set your mind on a holy cause. I have a friend who makes regular medical mission trips to a remote jungle clinic in order to treat the disadvantaged. He is a retired surgeon with an ample income. He could spend every day of his life in ease and luxury, but he focused on supporting the health clinic for his own good. I need a cause that is greater than cable TV and Cadillacs, he said. If I focus on my comfort, nothing can satisfy me. But when I focus on the concerns of God, I am a happy man. My friend functions out of a God-drenched mind. If your problems are great, then your cause is too small. When your cause is great, the problems begin to shrink. Do you have a holy cause? A faith worth preserving? A mission worth living for? Ask God to give you a Hebron to claim to his glory, an orphanage to serve, a neighbor to encourage, a needy family to feed, a class to teach, some senior citizens to encourage. It really is better to give than to receive. In the kingdom of Christ, we gain by giving, not taking. We grow by helping, not hurting. We advance by serving, not demanding. We want to see your troubles evaporate. Help others with theirs. You'll always face problems, but you don't have to face them in the same way. Instead, immerse your mind in God thoughts. Turn a deaf ear to doubters. Set your mind on a holy cause. Once you find your mountain, no giant will stop you. No age will disqualify you. No problems will defeat you. After all, you and Caleb have something in common. You have a different spirit. You are a promised land person. Application. Instead of remaining caught up in your own problems and concerns, align yourself with a worthy cause. Devote some time to serving the less fortunate, blessing a single mom, or lending a listening ear to a lonely soul. That's good. That's really good. Here's the bio on Caleb. Life is tough, but not everyone is tough enough to face the downside of life. When facing challenges, men and women of faith meet them head on. With faith as their source of strength, Caleb, one of the 12 spies who did reconnaissance in Canaan, was one of those rare faith guys. Along with Joshua, Caleb came back revved up and ready to take the promised land. But because the other 10 spies talked the nation into a collective faith crisis, God decreed that the Israelites, including Caleb and Joshua, would wander in the wilderness for 40 years. Caleb's confidence may not have impressed his countrymen, but it caught God's eye. The Lord said, "Because my servant Caleb has a different spirit and follows me wholeheartedly, I will bring him into the land he went into, and his descendants will inherit it." When the Almighty compliments you like that, you're doing something right. Caleb must have been disappointed about the delay, but if he was angry with his doubting peers, he never let on. He endured those decades in the desert by trusting the promise that he would eventually get to enter the land. That day finally came, and after a string of victories, it was time to divvy up the land. Every Hebrew tribe was represented. All the priests, soldiers, and regular folks gathered near the tabernacle. Eleazar, the priest, had 2 containers, one containing the tribal names, the other containing lists of land parcels. After the people received their inheritances, the 85-year-old Caleb stepped forward and gave his younger countrymen a short history lesson. He reminded everyone of Moses' promise to him: "The land of which your feet have walked will be your inheritance, and that of your children forever, because you have followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly." When you keep reading, you'll see that the old man didn't ask for a beachfront condo and an AARP card or spread overlooking the 18th green at Jericho Country Club. He asked for Hebron, where the Jewish patriarch Abraham was buried. This sacred piece of real estate was still in enemy hands. It featured great fortified cities, and giants were said to dwell there. Since there was still some fighting to do, Caleb volunteered for the task. He was one tough Israelite. Life is tough, but like Caleb, we can be tougher. Like Caleb, we have a different spirit. Our God is bigger than any problem or mountain or giant or enemy. What are we waiting for? Amen. What are we waiting for? Let me take a quick water break. Joshua chapter 15. Allotment for Judah. The allotment for the tribe of Judah, according to its clans, extended down to the territory of Edom to the desert of Zin in the extreme south. Their southern boundary started from the bay at the southern end of the Dead Sea, crossed south of Scorpion Pass, continued on to Zin, and went over to the south of Kadesh Barnea. Then it ran past Hezron up to Adar and curved around Karka. Then it passed along Asmon and joined the Wadi of Egypt, ending at the Mediterranean Sea. This is their southern boundary. The eastern boundary is the Dead Sea as far as the mouth of the Jordan. The northern boundary started from the Bay of the Sea at the mouth of the Jordan, went up to Beth Hogla, and continued north of Beth Araba to the stone of Bohan, son of Reuben. The boundary then went up to Debir from the valley of Achor and turned north to Gilgal, which faces the pass of Adumim south of the gorge. It continued along to the waters of En Shemesh and came out at En Rogel. Then it ran up the valley of Ben Hinnom along the southern slope of the Jebusite city, that is Jerusalem, for there it climbed to the top of the hill west of Hinnom Valley, at the northern end of the valley of Rephaim. From the hilltop, the boundary headed toward the spring of the waters of Nephtoah came out at the towns of Mount Ephron and went down toward Baalah, that is Kiriath Jearim. Then it curved westward from Baalah to Mount Seir, ran along the northern slope of Mount Jearim, that is Kesalon, continued down to Beth Shemesh and crossed to Timnah. It went to the northern slope of Ekron, turned toward Shikharon, passed along to Mount Baalah, and reached Jabneel. The boundary ended at the sea. The western boundary is the coastline of the Mediterranean Sea. These are the boundaries around the people of Judah by their clans. In accordance with the Lord's command to him, Joshua gave to Caleb, son of Jephunneh, a portion in Judah, Kiriath Araba, that is Hebron. Arba was the forefather of Anak. From Hebron, Caleb drove out the 3 Anakites, Shishai, Ahiman, and Talimai, the sons of Anak. From there he marched against the people living in Debir, formerly called Kiriath Sephir. And Caleb said, I will give my daughter Aksah in marriage to the man who attacks and captures Kiriath Sephir. Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's brother, took it. So Caleb gave his daughter to Aksah to him in marriage. One day, when she came to Othniel, she urged him to ask her father for a field. When she got off her donkey, Caleb asked her, What can I do for you? She replied, Do me a special favor. Since you have given me land in the Negev, give me also springs of water. So Caleb gave her the upper and lower springs. This is the inheritance of the tribe of Judah according to its clans. The southernmost towns of the tribe of Judah in the Negev toward the boundary of Edom were Kabzeel, Edir, Jagur, Kenah, Dimnah, Adada, Kadesh, Hazor, Ithnan, Ziph, Telem, Baloth, Hazor, Hadattah, Kirioth Hezron, that is Hazor, Amam, Shema, Moladah, Hazar Gadah, Heshmon, Beth Pelet, Hazar Shual, Beersheba, Baziothia, Bela, Iyim, Ezem, Eltolad, Kasil, Hormah, Ziklag, Madmanah, Sansana, Labouth, Shilhim, Ain, and Rimmon, a total of 29 towns and their villages. In the western foothills, Eshtaol, Zorah, Ashna, Zanoah, En-Ganim, Tapua, Enam, Jarmuth, Adullam, Succoth, Azekah, Sharaim, Adithaim, and Gederah, or Gederothaim. 14 towns and their villages. Zanan, Hadashah, Migdal, Gad, Dilian, Mizpah, Joktheel, Lachish, Boscath, Eglon, Kaban, Lamas, Kitlish, Gederoth, Beth Dagon, Naamah, and Makkedah. 16 towns and their villages. Libnah, Ethir, Ashhan, Iftah, Ashna, Nizib, Keilah, Akzib, and Marishah, 9 towns and their villages. Ekron, with its surrounding settlements and villages. West of Ekron, all that were in the vicinity of Ashdod, together with their villages. Ashdod, its surrounding settlements and villages, and Gaza, its settlements and villages, as far as the Wadi of Egypt and the coastline of the Mediterranean Sea. In the hill country, Shamir, Jatir, Succoth, Danah, Kiriath Sanah, that is Debir, Anab, Eshtemoh, Anim, Goshen, Holon, and Gilo, 11 towns and their villages. Arab, Duma, Ashan, Janim, Beth Tapua, Afikah, Humtah, Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, and Zior, 9 towns and their villages. Maon, Carmel, Ziph, Juttah, Jezreel, Jokdeam, Zanoah, Cain, Gibeah, and Timnah, 10 towns and their villages. Halhul, Beth Zur, Gedor, Marath, Beth Anath, and El-Takon, 6 towns and their villages. Kiriath Baal, that is Kiriath Jearim, and Rabbah, 2 towns and their villages. In the wilderness, Beth Araba, Medin, Sikakah, Nibshan, the city of salt, and En Gedi, 6 towns and their villages. Judah could not dislodge the Jebusites who were living in Jerusalem. To this day, the Jebusites live there with the people of Judah. Joshua chapter 16. Allotment for Ephraim and Manasseh. The allotment for Joseph began at the Jordan, east of the springs of Jericho, and went up from there through the desert into the hill country of Bethel. It went from Bethel, that is Luz, crossed over to the territory of the Archites and Ataroth, descended westward to the territory of the Japhletites as far as the region of the lower Beth Horon, and on to Gezer, ending at the Mediterranean Sea. So Manasseh and Ephraim, the descendants of Joseph, received their inheritance. This was the territory of Ephraim according to its clans. The boundary of their inheritance went from Ataroth Adar in the east to upper Beth Horon, and continued on to the Mediterranean Sea from Mikmethath on the north. It curved eastward to Tanath Shiloh, passing by it to Genoa on the east. Then it went down from Genoa to Ataroth and Narah, touched Jericho, and came out at the Jordan. From Tapua, the border went west to the Kana ravine and ended at the Mediterranean Sea. This was the inheritance of the tribe of the Ephraimites according to its clans. It also included all the towns and their villages that were set aside for the Ephraimites within the inheritance of the Manassites. They did not dislodge the Canaanites living in Gezer. To this day, the Canaanites live among the people of Ephraim, but are required to do forced labor. And that was it for today's study. We'll be back for the next week, and I'm going to do the benediction to close us out. You can lift your hands to receive. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you. Be safe, and I'll see you next time.